Got one last video for the night. It's 10 WWE jobbers who became world champion. Super interesting. I didn't realize there were 10. And like I saw the interview with the Brooklyn Brawler where he called himself an enhancement talent. And I think that's more of an appropriate term. Maybe not for these guys, but definitely for people like the Brooklyn Brawler whose entire, you know, run with the company was just taking L's. But it is interesting that there's been 10 people that have jobbed who have now become world champion. And now we're seeing a lot of NXT talent doing that, which is cool. Like NXT talent that hasn't quite debuted on NXT. You know, they might have been on NXT 2.0. Might be some the Evolve guys whenever they're coming up. But yeah, Jobber is something we're not getting rid of anytime soon. But yeah, let's check it out. I'm interested to see who's on this list
Jobber,
because they didn't give us
sadly,
any
has
hints.
done the round, so we all know what it means. Enhancement talent is better.
Mick Foley.
It takes everybody to make a wrestling show work.
don't
Some
know who
people
that
feel
is.
like getting
I can't
put in
tell.
such a position is the end of their career, though. But no, in fact, it can turn out this is for the best. When you smash through the ceiling, you have a lovely story to tell. And who was able to make this leap from
Dean
zero to hero?
Ambrose.
Well, I am Simon Miller, and here are the facts.
Was he an
Number 10,
enhancement
EC3. Wind your
EC3.
clocks back to this one before
I guess okay. Was he a world champion for WWE? I know he was NWA world champion. I think he still is NWA world champion. I don't know. I haven't checked out NWA in a while. But I know he was 24/7 champion. I don't remember him being world champion, but maybe in TNA also.
Ethan
we'll give it a
Carter
shot.
III had chosen such a name. He was in NXT, and he was called Derek Bateman. Actually sounds like somebody from The Simpsons. This wasn't the NXT we know and love today, as it was still finding its feet. But yes, from 2009 to 2013, this is where the future EC3 plied his craft. There wasn't really too much to this Bateman character either, and mostly it felt like he was there to put others over. Like many, he was then let go, but really that was for the best. He soon arrived in TNA, where he took on the character of Dixie Carter's nephew, and yes, that's where the name came from. It was an astute decision, as in June 2015, he won the
they're talking about TNA. Okay. I guess this is more than just WWE world champions. Okay. That makes sense. I was like 10 jobbers. I think there's been 10 people that jobbed that have been WWE world champion. But okay, this makes sense.
TNA world title, and he had a 101-day reign. He stayed at the top of the card too, so look at that.
EC3
did
is
prove
one of those
everybody
big,
wrong
like, what
if
ifs
you
in
did
WWE.
indeed doubt him. If you didn't, you totally smashed it. Well done, Gold Star. His second round in WWE seemed like he was going to benefit from this too, and it kind of did in NXT. Then he got called up to the main roster, and it went really badly. That'll be a talking point forever. I don't think he was actually ever really given a proper chance.
I don't
Nine,
either.
Just
I
incredible.
really don't either.
His peak of
Just
ECW
incredible.
is still spoken about today, although the stories of some wrestlers have been lost. You can still see how many of them rose to the top, though, because Paul Heyman is doing the same thing right now in WWE.
Yeah.
You take an individual, you push their strengths, and you hide their weaknesses.
This has to be like
It's
this has to be like super old with Just Incredible. Hold on, let's see, because like Just Incredible was like a big name for ECW. Eh, I would assume that he wasn't jobbing for WWE while he was like a big name in ECW.
how anyone in charge should operate, and man, did Just Incredible benefit from that. If you do go back to 1993 and 1994,
Yeah, 1990. Okay. 1993. Also, don't have any dealings with Just Incredible. I don't know if you saw the Pinfall and Pixels 2-part series on that. I did a reaction video to it as well. But if you're going to watch it, go to Pinfall and Pixels video. Just Incredible is a scam artist. And not a good artist either. Very crappy scam artist. Awful person.
you will see him as PJ Walker in the WWF, and he was getting beaten a lot. He must have done a decent job,
Yeah.
though, as it turned into a full-time contract, where he was transformed into the Portuguese man of war, Aldo Montoya.
No way. He was Aldo Montoya? That's so funny. I didn't know that.
No, don't overthink that one. It was just a crazy idea. Aldo sort of just hung out and played Nintendo for a while before he did arrive in ECW in 1997. No one really knew what to expect, but as well as a good tag team with Lance Storm, in April 2000, Justin had enough momentum and bam, he became the ECW World Champion. He held on to this until the company went down in 2001 too, and really WWE should have used him better when he came back into the fold. Fans were intrigued to see what we could do with this guy. Sadly, before long, he got lost in the shuffle. Number 8, Britt Baker.
Yeah,
in 2016, after a brand split, Nia Jax was put on Raw and told she was going to destroy people for a while. A tale as old as time itself.
Yeah,
let's get
classic.
the monster over by letting them be a monster. It happened to Braun Strowman too, which is when James Ellsworth became a thing.
Bro, James Ellsworth. Bro, James Ellsworth, man. I have good memories of James Ellsworth. I actually really liked James Ellsworth. Not as a wrestler, but as a character within the WWE, I was a fan of James Ellsworth. Especially when he was with Carmella. So much fun. So much fun.
But somebody on the other side was indeed Britt Baker. She got mauled on the 25th of July show. Baker must have done all right because
and
she was
went
in
by
somebody's
Britt Baker.
mind in 2018 with NXT. She was hired to do the same thing for one Shayna Baszler. Outside of all that, though, she was also
She had the DMD stuff on. She had like the was it the cross with the snakes?
making noise on the indie scene. When, of course, she was involved in the first All In, she was hired by AEW and bam. A quick switch to being the heel saw her become the women's champion in 2021. Britt was even
I'm
able
so
to do
glad AEW changed the women's world championship title belt. That first belt was not good. Not good. The new one, chef's kiss.
away with the ghost of Isaac Yankem by proving you could be a wrestling dentist. And during this time, man, she was super
Ghost of
over.
Isaac Yankem.
Sure, it's all gone a bit weird recently, but at the time, what a flipping 180. Number 7, Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss herself has talked about this. When Sasha
even know-
Banks, Charlotte
didn't know
Flair,
she
and
was a
Bayley were
jobber.
getting all the praise for changing women's wrestling in WWE, she was a little bit of an outlier, had a cheerleader gimmick, and it didn't feel like something that was going to translate to Raw or Smackdown. In late 2016, Bliss did get the call up from NXT, and doesn't it just go to show? A tweak here, a change there, make sure the machine gets behind you, and boom, before long,
Bro,
she
she
was the
has-
SmackDown Women's Champion, and
she
the
has
way she
evolved
presented
like
herself
crazy.
was perfect for the main roster. But Little Miss Bliss persona just worked. Even when she lost that title, she won a bunch more and proved she had legs too. We all remember the Bray Wyatt-inspired gimmick change, and even if it wasn't everybody's cup of
Bro,
tea,
she has taken that gimmick and run with it. She has done a fantastic job with the like scary angle of Bray Wyatt and the Fiend and all that, and she continues to carry that on with her, and she is doing a great job with that. Fantastic job. She has found her niche, as you could say, in the wrestling character world, and she is doing great.
go look at the numbers, I do believe she smashed it. If you continue your research, you will see it was a big shift because her NXT record was just lose, lose, lose. Even when she was elevated, you could
Sasha
kind of tell it
Banks.
wasn't going to go her way. The move to the blue brand changed all of that, and Bliss never looked back. She was very important to the product from 2016 through to 2021, and as and when she does come back, I don't doubt this will continue.
I guess this was pre-WrestleMania, or not WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, dummy. But yeah, she received a massive pop when she came out of the Rumble. I was so happy for her at that moment because it's been 2 years. It's been a long time. 2 years is enough to kill somebody's career. But she came back to leagues of applause. It's awesome. Awesome. So happy for
She
her.
went
with
and
that.
figured it out. Number 6, Liv Morgan. 2015 was a
Morgan.
totally different world for WWE.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's obvious. You don't need a time machine for that. But back then, Eva Marie was being pushed huge in NXT, whereas Liv Morgan didn't even get a name. When they fought, most people referred to her as the local competitor. With a bit of research, it turns out her name was Marley, and of course, she was quickly dispatched. Naturally. It soon changed when the Riot Squad was born, and while that was up and down, Liv Morgan established herself herself as somebody who had potential. The Harley Quinn tie-in helped her, but there was more. And yeah, sure, there was some awkward stuff with that Lana Rusev storyline. The 2022 babyface push didn't work, mostly because it was bungled by the powers that be, but you know the deal. WWE used her unfortunate injury to their advantage, turned Morgan heel, and her 2024 was excellent. Won the
Yeah, she really
title,
did. Her 2024 was a great year. As much as I am over the whole Liv versus Rhea stuff, she had a great year, and that's undeniable. She had an incredible year.
That great relationship with Dominic Mysterio totally reinvented herself. Liv plays back up to nobody now either, and there's no reason this can't continue. Her act is working, and she's damn good at it. Surely there is going to be loads more with this character going forward. I mean, we've only touched the top of the iceberg, so let's keep it going. Number 5, AJ Styles.
AJ Styles
was ahead of his time. Not just in how he changed what in-ring wrestling could be, but in the early 2000s, he was offered a WWE developmental deal, and he turned it down. Not only would it have uprooted his wife, who was about to become a teacher, but AJ felt like the company wouldn't use him correctly. He had to go out there and make a name for himself. Styles was already affiliated with the WWE because he would appear on Heat and Metal between 2001 and 2002. But of course,
this is probably pre-TNA, right? Probably pre-X Division champion and all this. Probably before all that got kicked
TNA
off.
was
Because
born.
2002 was
something in this
TNA
man, and you
started.
know the rest.
Ring of Honor also
Even though
started.
He was one of their most important assets. He still actually wasn't used correctly. And sure, he became the world champion, but I tell you, he should have been the franchise player. It's why he would leave for Japan after getting lowballed on money, and this worked again. Styles somehow got even better, and in 2016, the mega WWE contract arrived.
Yeah.
AJ made a surprise debut in the Royal Rumble. Even then, there was trepidation because Vince McMahon never understood such performers. But the cream always rises to the top. He did such a good job, he won multiple world titles. And if you had followed his entire career, this was incredible. If you do want to pull it back just...
yeah, we were looking at that earlier tonight on stream. I didn't show it, but I did look at it because we were talking about AJ Styles going for the Intercontinental Championship. And I couldn't remember if he had been Intercontinental Champion yet. He has. He's held almost every single belt in the WWE outside of the, 2 newest ones, if you want to call it that. So he's been WWE champion, not Universal Champion or World Heavyweight Champion, but he has held like the top championship and both mid-card championships for the men, as well as tag team championships.
To the headlines, it meant AJ Styles turned down OVW, and 20 years later was flying higher than most.
Yeah,
such a cool story,
a good move for him.
And why he's a generational talent. The man changed the game. Number 4, Bryan Danielson. So I think most people know this story, but it's still quite the tale. For Daniel Bryan, as he was known in WWE, defied all the odds and proved that no matter what Vince McMahon thinks, you can't outdo the fans. Even when he was first hired, not many thought he'd be used correctly because he was quote-unquote too small. Saying that today sounds ridiculous. If you go back to 2000 to 2003, you will see Bryan pop up in many enhancement matches.
That's so funny. Yeah, because this is his like Ring of Honor days. Like I was watching Ring of Honor earlier today, and I watched him and Low Key, and this is the exact same thing he was wearing. But yeah, this is Ring of Honor days for him.
Even the biggest fan of the indie scene didn't go, "Oh wow, there's a future WrestleMania main eventer." It's just not how WWE did things. The American Dragon also lost the likes of Lance Cage, Sean O'Haire, and even John Cena as he was making his way to
John
superstar.
Cena's not a bad loss. Sean O'Haire at the time would not have been a bad loss. I don't know who this other guy is. I'm gonna be honest with you.
To be honest, I think Bryan was just happy to be used. Fast forward to 2013, and he was so over it became a war between the audience and management, which ended when he did indeed close the show at Mania 30. I mean,
I was so happy about this.
At first, he was most definitely seen as low on the totem pole by WWE, though. You can't pretend otherwise. They were just totally incorrect, and thank goodness it all worked out. Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson inspired a whole generation. Number 3, Jeff Hardy. It is so crazy to try and process this, but Jeff Hardy once faced Scott Hall in an enhancement match. Hall was a big fan of him as well, and that is how long Jeff has been around. That
It's been
doesn't make
around
much
for a
sense.
long
I would also
time.
include Matt in this list because he would become a TNA champion and ECW champion. But of course, his brother went a step further because despite sneaking into the company as a 16-year-old and losing to everyone, he would indeed become the WWE champ. Wasn't a fluke either. Fans were
I love Jeff Hardy. And I wish that he was able to, keep himself together long enough to have a good career. Yeah, okay, he's had a good career, but I think the heights that he could have reached if he would have, kept clean would have been astronomical. Crazy.
desperate for it. It was June 1994 when he was beaten by Razor Ramon, which sums it up, and his name was Keith Davis. Amazing. He then lost to King Kong Bundy, which is so insane it will keep you up at night when somebody must have realized it was time. The Hardys became a thing, and let's face it, they changed the tag team scene forever. By 2008, Jeff's popularity couldn't be ignored, and he did become the WWE champion and a two-time World Heavyweight champion. If it wasn't for his personal issues, I tell you, his adventure could have reached even greater heights. I tell you, my friends, people love this guy. Even with all that, though, he still went higher than most thought, given at one point, people saw him as a beanpole being destroyed by new generation talent. I don't get how he's still going, given the wear and tear on his body, but hey, that is the secret sauce. It's built right into his brain. Number 2, Jon Moxley. Look at these images side by side. It's the same story as before. Nobody thought this red-headed menace was going to become
That's such an insane picture. Like, because, Jon Moxley, Dean Ambrose, whatever you want to call him, seeing him with the pink hair is insane. Because I'm used to, like, the greasy blondish brown hair or, shaved head. That's what I've grown accustomed to. And with the pink hair is insane. Like, I don't even know if that's a wig or not.
WWE champion. This is when the soon-to-be Dean Ambrose was trying to make a name for himself as he appeared on WWC shows in 2006 and 2007. He had to grind for a few more years, but in 2011 he did indeed get a developmental deal. Step 1. It was quite the rise as by 2012 he was debuting on WWE TV as one-third of The Shield. This wasn't your run-of-the-mill arrival either. Along with Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, management had decided they were going to push these guys.
Like they were fake.
In a few months, they were a featured act. After they split in 2014, Ambrose almost became a loose cannon type. And while WWE did indeed make him do jokes, he was able to fight through those too. 2 years later, as The Shield played past the parcel with the WWE title, it was Dean who walked away with the gold. The man had done it. We soon learned he was most definitely somebody who marched to the beat of his own drum, which made him even more interesting, especially because he left WWE by his own accord. This wasn't his type of wrestling, so he walked out the door. Talk about integrity.
Went to New Japan and killed it, went to AEW and killed it.
AEW World Champion.
He's had a great career leaving WWE.
Not sure anybody
I can't
predicted
blame
that,
him
which
for
is the
leaving.
point of this.
As much as
anybody
can make see him, like with things going now, I would love to see Dean Ambrose in the shuffle of all of this. But he has had such an incredible career outside of the WWE. I would hate for him to come back.
And good. Screw rhyme and reason. I mean, it would be rubbish. It would be the other way around. Number 1, Mick Foley. This one is a bit unfair. But
my favorite wrestler.
Always remember what Vince McMahon said to Jim Ross after JR finally convinced his boss to hire Mick Foley. McMahon, with his usual grace, made it clear he was only doing it to prove the idea would fail. Yeah, good work. Of course, he was totally wrong, and Foley...
That idea failed upwards into one of probably the fans' favorites. Also, fun little fact about this this night right here. WCW, this was pre-taped. So WCW announced live on television that Mick Foley wins the WWE Championship. They got insider information, they announced it, thinking that would sway people to WCW. And then this was one of the most popular episodes of the Raw is War era for WWE. And then from that moment on, WCW never beat them in the rankings.
He would go on to win the
is what it is.
WWF title
They
multiple times.
they buried
and
their own
it was
grave.
awesome. Talk about a guy
They
that was
buried
easy
their
to
own
support.
casket.
Even as a heel, he just gave everything. We all know his bumps were next level bonkers. Way back in 1986, Foley also got a few bookings as an enhancement talent in the World Wrestling Federation. I mean, on Wrestling Challenge, Kamara of all people defeated him in about 39 seconds.
Yeah.
The Bulldog and Hercules also took their time
That's
whooping
not a
his
bad
ass, and
list.
Mick talked about that. Apparently, Davey Boy Smith kicked the life out of him. Of course, nothing would slow him down, and not only was he a success in WCW, but he did an ECW before getting his WWF shot, and look at the rest. Mankind was the reason The Undertaker was able to get things going again. He needed a viable opponent.
I agree.
Bingo. So if you are just starting on your wrestling journey, go and look what Foley did.
Foley,
Replicate
Foley is my favorite wrestler. I love Mick Foley. I'm such a huge fan of him. Anything he does. Like I've said this before, there are very few wrestlers that I will travel like far out of my way to go see. Mick Foley is one of them. I will go as far out of my way as I can to go see Mick Foley if I know that he's somewhere I can be at. He is one of my favorite people on this planet. Without a doubt. I love Mick Foley.
Half of it, you are going to be on to a winner. Know of any other wrestlers that circumvented your expectations to become a world champion? Make sure you let us know in the comments below and click that video on the screen for yet more wrestling information.
W Video, as always, from What Culture Wrestling, one of the premier wrestling, YouTube channels. Go ahead and give it a like. If you haven't subbed, what the hell are you doing? Go ahead and go sub to What Culture Wrestling. I've been subscribed to them for years. I think I subscribed in like 2015, maybe. Like I've been subscribed for a long time. Watched a lot of What Culture videos. Very influential in, me taking this journey and believing that I can do this. So I love What Culture. Big shout out to them. Big fan of theirs. But yeah, this was a great video. I didn't know half of these. So that's a lot of fun. It's always fun to learn something new about wrestling. And it's something that you love. So big shout out to What Culture Wrestling. I'll have it linked down below in the description. So make sure to go give it a like, leave a comment, do something, because this video deserves it. But great video. Great. I don't really even have anything else to say. Great video.